Good morning, classmates. Good morning to our beloved professor, Dr. Amelia T. Buwan. I am Vanjer A. Madale, a graduate of Master of Science Education, major in General Science. Currently, I am taking PhD in Science Education, major in Biology. For today, my topic is all about ethics in research and evaluation. And for that, let me show you my slide. Ethics in research and evaluation. When it comes to research and evaluation, this was already been discussed to you by the previous reporter. Right now, my topic is all about ethics and its context on research and evaluation. But before anything else, let us first define what is ethics. Ethics is based on well-founded standards of right and wrong that prescribe what humans ought to do, usually in terms of rights, obligations, belief, benefits to society, fairness, or specific virtues. Ethics is a process of questioning, discovering, and defending our values, principles, and purpose. It's about finding out who we are and staying true to that in face of temptations, challenges, and uncertainty. At its simplest, ethics is a system of moral principles. They affect how people make decisions and lead their lives. System of moral principles that affect how people make decisions and lead their lives. Ethics is concerned with what is good for individuals and society and is also described as moral philosophy. The term is derived from the Greek word ethos, which can mean custom, habit, career, or disposition. Ethics covers the following dilemmas: how to live a good life, our rights and responsibilities, the language of right and wrong, moral decisions. Example, what is good or bad? So that is ethics. Our concepts of ethics have been derived from religions, philosophies, and cultures. They infuse debates on topics like abortion, human rights, and professional conduct. In other words, ethics provides rules that govern the society as a whole. So, what is the connection of ethics in research and evaluation? There are several reasons. There are several reasons why it is important to adhere ethical norms in research. First, it provides researchers with ethical principles or guidelines for the successful conduct of research. Research ethics are moral principles that guide researchers to conduct and report research without deception or intention to harm the participants of the study or members of the society as a whole, whether knowing or unknowingly. So there is a truthfulness. Remember, you must follow ethical guidelines issued by regulatory committees in order to ensure the safety of participants of the study, the public at large, and that of the researcher himself or herself. Following ethical guidelines will ensure that your research is authentic and error-free, and you will allow following ethical guidelines will ensure that your research is authentic and error-free and will allow you to gain credibility and support from public. Your manuscript must adhere to ethical guidelines also while presenting your findings in your manuscript. Apart from that, research ethics fill in the sense of responsibility among researchers and make it easy to fix responsibility in case of misconduct. Unacceptable conduct of research. These are conducts that hurt the human beings or does not conform to ethical standards. So we have an example, the Nazi human experimentation. The Nazi human experimentation was a series of medical experiments on large numbers of prisoners, including children, by Nazi Germany and its concentration camps in the early mid 1940s during the World War II and the Holocaust. Nazi physicians and their assistants forced prisoner into participating. They did not willingly volunteer and no consent was given for the procedures. Typically, the experiments were conducted without anesthesia. It resulted to trauma, disfigurement, permanent disability, or even caused death.
Century of War, the monument to human cruelty, Auschwitz-Birkenau. A 19-year-old Polish youth was arrested in 1940 for his anti-Nazi activities and brought to Auschwitz concentration camp number 1. He was prisoner number 6804. Nazi Germany invaded Poland and built the Auschwitz concentration camp number 1 to imprison civilians of Polish nationality. Arbeit macht frei means work makes you free. Working in this camp actually led people to almost certain death. Prisoners were forced to do heavy construction work and other physically demanding labour in the boiling heat of summer and intense cold of winter. Most were unable to withstand such harsh conditions and died within 3 months. Each barrack was packed with from 700 to 1,000 prisoners. At its peak, 5 people had to share the same bed. These holes were toilets. People who became infected with diseases such as typhoid were regarded as useless and killed without mercy. The Nazis worked us hard, beat us up and shot the sick ones to death. For the first 2 years of operation, the Nazis tried to eliminate us Poles using labour as an excuse. Prisoner number 6804 was also sent to Block 11, known as the Death Block. Prisoners who showed even the slightest sign of resistance to the Nazis were sent here to be executed, or tortured, which often resulted in death. This is the standing cell for torturing prisoners. 4 people were crammed into a 90-centimetre square cell and forced to remain standing for days. Under suspicion of communicating with an anti-Nazi activist, he was confined in the dark cell, a cell without light. He could hear sounds outside through the small air holes. They were connected to the wall just beside the death wall, where executions by firing squad took place. Almost 10,000 Polish people were killed at the death wall. Auschwitz concentration camp started its history by detaining and torturing Polish people. It later developed into a Jewish genocide facility.
So to prevent this from happening, we have established the ethical principles that guide research. Research ethics provides guidelines for the responsible conduct of research. In addition, it educates and monitors scientists or researchers conducting research to ensure high ethical standards. So what are these principles? Number 1 is honesty. Honestly report data, results, methods, and procedure, and publication status. Remember, do not fabricate, falsify, or misrepresent data. The second one is what we call objectivity. Objectivity means that you need to strive to avoid biased experimental designs, data analysis, data interpretation, peer review, personal decisions, grant writing, expert testimony, and other aspects of research. Always remember that the opposite of objectivity is subjectivity. You should not be biased, prejudice, partiality, favor, partisanship, predisposition, bent, predilection, and proclivity. Another principle that guide research is what we call integrity. Keep your promises and agreements. Act with sincerity. Strive for consistency of thought and action. Remember that integrity is doing right when no one is watching. Your research should uphold the value of integrity. Next is what we call carefulness. Carefulness means you should avoid careless errors and negligence. Carefully and critically examine your work and the work of your peers. Keep good records of research activities. Always remember to put caution, especially when you are handling sensitive cases or the subject matter involves human beings as well as animals. Next, we have what we call openness. Share data, results, ideas, tools, and resources. Be open to criticisms and new ideas. Do not be one-sided. If somebody will give his or her opinion and it does not convene to what you think, be open-minded to accept new possibilities. Because always remember that learning starts when you are open to learn new ideas from other people. Another principle is what we call respect for intellectual property. So what does it mean? Remember to honor patents, copyrights, and other forms of intellectual property. Do not plagiarize or do not steal the data of other people. You should always give credits to whom or whoever is the owner of that idea. There's nothing wrong when it comes to using information from other research. The only thing is you must give proper credit. You should use citations. Another one is what we call confidentiality. Protect confidential communications such as papers or grants submitted for publication, personal record, trade or military secrets, and patient records. Confidentiality means that even if your family member is asking for the information, you should not divulge that information because that's confidential. Protect your subject, especially when the topic or the matter is sensitive. Next is responsible publication. So remember to publish in order to advance research and scholarship, not to advance just your own career. Yes, we all know that publication or research is a part of promotion, but it should be just be a side way. Remember that you're doing research to advance research or to put greater good to the society. So what are the responsible publications? We have the elements of responsible publication. Number one is abstract, methods, results, discussions, notes, bibliography, and remember to put proper acknowledgements. Next is responsible mentoring. Help to educate, mentor, and advise students, promote their welfare, and allow them to make their own decisions. We should be there for them as a guide on doing their research. Next is what we call respect for colleagues. Remember, respect your colleagues and treat them fairly. Mutual respect is so important in every workplace. It doesn't matter if you have different opinions, different principles, different religions, or different beliefs. All we need to do is respect one another, especially when doing research. Another is social responsibility. Strive to promote social good and prevent or mitigate social harm through research, publication, or public education and advocacy. So your research should aim to promote social good, the welfare or the well-being of the society, not only the society, but the entire country or the whole world. Non-discrimination. Avoid discrimination against colleagues or students, the basis of sex, race, ethnicity, or other factors that are not related. Next is non-discrimination. Avoid discrimination against colleagues or students on the basis of sex, race, ethnicity, or other factors that are not related to their scientific competence or integrity. For example, if you're doing a research, do not discriminate your subject, that this is for all males or for all females, but depending on the aim of your research. Be gender sensitive. Competence. Maintain and improve your professional competence and expertise through lifelong education. Remember that learning never stops. In order for you to have the competence, you need to know the knowledge, skills, performance, experience, leadership, and the potential inside yourself. And that is competence. Next, we have the legality. Know and obey relevant laws and institutional and governmental policies, especially when conducting research. Because we live in a society that is governed by law. We have our rules to follow, so obey that rules. It doesn't mean that we are doing a research, you can break laws. You can go to jail by doing such so. So, always check the legality or consult a lawyer when doing a research. Next is animal care. Show proper respect and care for animals when using them in research. So usually in scientific research, we use mice, flies, and other animals in doing research or medical experiments. So try your best to minimize their pain. Try your best to minimize their suffering, because remember that we are all living things and we should take care of of each other. Lastly is human subjects protection. This is very controversial. When conducting research on human subjects, minimize the harms, risk, and maximize benefits. Respect human dignity, privacy, and autonomy. Remember that when doing a research that involves human beings as your subjects, you should adhere to human rights. Okay? So do not do a research that does not or So do not do a research that violates human rights. Remember that your right ends when the other people's rights begins. And that is my lesson for today. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope that you have learned something about my report. Thank you so much, and God bless you always. Always remember, learning never stops, and please follow high ethical standards in doing your research. Thank you so much. God bless you always. Stay safe. Bye.